survey, nearly half of all Americans think the United States government is hiding information about UFOs. So do my next two guests. From Boston is John Mack, a Harvard Medical School psychiatrist. He's studied over 100 people who claim to have been abducted and is convinced they are telling the truth. Also joining me is perhaps the most well-known alien abductee, Whitley Strieber. He says aliens have been abducting him for years and it's still going on today. He's written a number of popular books on UFOs. His recent one is The Secret School. Dr. Mack, what's the price of believing in this, personally and professionally?
Well, we're raised to believe that the human being is the preeminent intelligent creature in the cosmos. It's a point of view which is prevalent in Western society, but is not shared around the earth. So if you have the idea that there are beings coming from somewhere else into our world, then that's automatically a source of a lot of resistance.
And it has given you a problem personally as well as at Harvard, is that right?
Well, a problem,
problems,
yes,
or what word would you use?
It's a fight worth fighting, and I just document what I see as a clinician when people tell me about experiences that they have questioned about themselves and that they speak about appropriately. They have nothing to gain, and this is coming to me from all over this country and now in other countries around the world. Then I try to say, is this dream? Is it mental illness? What is it? And it operates absolutely like people who are reporting something that really happened to them. Now, the fact that what's they're saying happened to them isn't possible in our view of the world is not my responsibility.
Right. Whitley, when was the last time that you feel you were abducted?
Well, I had only one real abduction. That was in '85. I've had a lot of contact experiences since then. The last one that I would say was really face-to-face was in last October. And I had a cabin in upstate New York near Kingston for years, and it used to happen a lot there. We've moved to Texas, to a city, to San Antonio, and now it's very rare. It happens only once.
Did you move for any reason? I mean, were you trying to avoid this or not?
No, my wife was lonely, and we have a lot of friends. I was born in San Antonio, and we wanted to be where our friends were. So.
What was the experience in October?
Very brief, and it had to do with, I was trying to create a videotape about how to meditate in a way that will facilitate the contact experience, and they showed up for about 2 minutes and I was able to experiment on, in the relationship. I don't want to get into it in a lot of detail, but it's become a kind of ordinary part of my life. It's not something that, I mean, I don't know what they are. I have to tell you that.
You say they showed up in a physical form?
Yeah.
And physically in the room with you?
In the living room.
Just
yeah,
materialized?
No. They came in and they were there for a few minutes. I knew they were coming. There are signs that happen beforehand, and I get very agitated. And when I'm around them, there's a big histamine reaction. I get very allergic. I'm allergic to them. I mean, physically.
So if your eyes start watering right now, you were not going to say that I.
Yeah, I am. I've suspected you for a long time.
Dr. Mack, do you experience or deal at all with out-of-body experiences? I know it's not about abduction or aliens or anything like that, but do other aspects of what people might call paranormal, does that come to your attention?
Yes, the so-called alien abduction phenomenon really is a whole range of experiences from what Whitley is saying is quite rare, which is to be actually physically taken outside of your home or car into some kind of enclosure and then subjected to a variety of procedures. For some people that's not rare, but then there are many other phenomena, like you mentioned, out-of-body experiences where the body stays behind, or just the sense of a presence, or seeing the beings in the living room, or having some sort of relationship with them, or transfer of feeling or thought from them to us. There is a great number of experiences which are related to this phenomenon, but the so-called abductions is only the most dramatic element.
In the out-of-body, when they did these experiments at Duke University, a fellow named, I think his name was Blue Harari, who would travel a half a mile down campus while his body remained under observation, and then come back and report what he saw. Are you familiar with those experiments?
Experiments like that, yes.
Yes. So what do you think of that?
I think the most interesting thing about out-of-body experiences is that it demonstrates that the consciousness of the person, that is what we feel to be ourselves, and our bodies are not the same thing. And in the materialist worldview, we're taught that consciousness is simply a phenomenon of the brain. So this shows that it's possible for the consciousness to have some life separately in the overall ground of being in the universe that isn't simply something that's occurring in the physical material of the brain.
Whitley, do you ever have you ever dealt with anything other than the alien or the abduction, which you've written about? You familiar with what we're talking about in the out-of-body realm?
Yeah. Actually, I have had one of those experiences. Before this happened to me, I was outside of this context, and so I haven't had like a lifetime. I had things happen to me when I was a child, but then I forgot about it. I just ignored it for years, and I had one out-of-the-body experience, which I wrote about, I believe, in my second book, Transformation, that was really amazing. It was so clear, and I didn't go to another realm of reality. I stayed like in and near the house we were living in, and it was just marvelous, fun. But
what'd you do? Float around and observe?
Yeah, I went through a wall. I went outside. It was wonderful, and I ended up going back into my body because I got edgy about. I saw myself and my wife lying there on the bed, and I thought, "Am I dead? Have I died?" And I went sort of to see. And as soon as I got close to my body, whoof, I was back in. I was like sucked into, and I've never been out since.
Dr. Mack, as you know, this is an experience of the near-death experience that many people have, and it would particularly interest me that so many people who are near-death report that they float above the operating table and report things that were said when they were ostensibly unconscious. I find that particularly interesting because if you can leave your body while you're still alive, it seems to suggest that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Again, the near-death experience is another dramatic example of the fact that the body and the consciousness are separate, something which in my upbringing in the Western material science viewpoint was simply not possible.
Why do you think, Dr. Mack, that there would be a concealing of this? For example, the Roswell event where there's theoretically aliens were captured or their bodies, and there's even been video of things purported to be that. Why, if this were the case, would the government want to conceal this?
There are many levels in the resistance to acknowledging the truth of this phenomenon. First of all, as Whitley and others have documented, a number of people have broken the law in covering up something which they were not allowed to cover up. So you're dealing with a cover-up of a cover-up in many instances. But once we acknowledge that we're being visited by another intelligence, the whole game changes. We're now, economically, everything has changed. The whole notion that we have of ourselves as the preeminent intelligence of the cosmos undergoes a terrific sort of ego death blow. And I think at the root of the resistance is the idea that we are no longer the preeminent intelligence in the universe, and that has very vast implications for us.
Does that disturb you, Whitley? It wouldn't disturb me that we weren't the preeminent intelligence. Would it disturb you?
Well, my experience started out really scary. Now it's been fun for a long time. It's a terrific adventure. I don't really know what it's all about, and there's not much support. I mean, if there was scientific community was working on it and stuff, and whatever the heck the government does know was public knowledge, I probably would be better. But it doesn't disturb me in the least. I think it's just tremendous fun.
Exciting.
I mean, what a wonderful thing is happening here. And it's crazy that it's all so secretive, and the New York Times of the world are so uptight about it. It's ridiculous. I mean, why wouldn't they be here? It's a huge universe. Of course they're here.
Dr. Mack, for the skeptics who may be watching, is there any evidence to point, aside from your personal experience in interviewing these people, what evidence would you offer a layman who might be watching?
The evidence is a combination of the clinical evidence of people of sound mind describing the presence of beings who come to them and they have nothing to gain, and it is described altogether as real from every point of view, and there's no psychological logical explanation that can allow us to dismiss it. That goes along with actual physical evidence. Sounds that these beings make when they come into people's worlds, bright lights that are present, UFOs photographed at the same time the person is having their experiences, a whole variety of lesions which appear on their bodies, which have been shown over and over and over again. I think at this point, the crucial question here, what is there about us that something so evident, so powerful, we dismiss with the back of our hands in terms of the official worldview of the culture? And I think more attention needs to be looked at that than trying to quibble about, are they really here, are they not here? Because clearly there is something extraordinary going on. And as Whitley says, I totally agree with him. We need to welcome the fact that there is a mystery here of genuine proportions, which has a lot to teach us, which has a potential for a great expansion of our sense of ourselves in the cosmos, and something we could ultimately welcome with great joy. There's nothing more fearful about these beings coming to us, in fact, much less than what we do to one another every day of our lives.
Or to perceive life as having an end and then there's nothing, which so many people do. We've come to the end of this. Thanks to Dr. Mack, thanks to Whitley Strieber, author of The Secret School, his latest book on the subject. I find it all very exciting, and I see there's no threat here. I mean, I would hope that there'll be people brighter than we all are. I find that an exciting prospect, not a troubling one. How much time we got, Wayne?
Thanks to you for having us.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. Thanks, Whitley.
Yeah,
and,
it's a pleasure.
I'll be back with a final word.
You're watching CNBC.